afternoon, or good night. I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Hello, Talmadge Rodger Varnado III. Thank you for joining me today.
Here we are, back again.
Back again. Once again. All right, we're going to be talking today about a couple of legendary athletes from different sports that both passed away in 2024. One from baseball, one from basketball. Both of us have reasons for wanting to talk about these particular athletes.
Yes, sir.
And so I'll have Talmadge kick us off. Talmadge, who is your subject for the day, and what is unique about what you can say about him from when you were younger, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm thinking you're driving at me saying Pete Rose.
And that is what I was thinking.
Pete Rose, to me, I believe I started watching baseball when I was 6 years old, and I hadn't yet started watching football or basketball, so this was literally the first sport that I started watching.
Okay.
Now, because I grew to love baseball so much, of course, when football and basketball season rolled around that following season, I started watching them as well.
Gotcha.
But just on the calendar. And
baseball is your first favorite sport,
that's the first,
basically?
Not really my first favorite. It's just the first one I watched.
Okay.
And then once I started liking it, well, these other sports might be good too. And then all of a sudden.
Okay.
But in theory, if that's the first sport I paid attention to, and I had a favorite team and I had a favorite player, my favorite team was the Cincinnati Reds. And the reason why it was because of Pete Rose. So you can literally say he's the first favorite player that I ever had.
Your first favorite athlete.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when he obviously passed, that meant a lot to me. If you're asking what I liked about his style of play, because I'm sure you'll have the stats. We can get into the all-time hit king and the fact that he played several different positions and all the time he played in the All-Star game and the World Championships, and he batted in several different places in the lineup, so he's a very versatile player.
That's something that gets overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of people don't have success batting anywhere 1 through 9, but he was a guy that could. And
he was, quote unquote, one of the leaders on one of the best teams of all time, the Cincinnati Big Red Machine. So all those things are important, but what stood out to me was actually why he got his nickname, Charlie Hustle. Even though I didn't have a lot of form of reference, because it was the first, again, sport I was watching, I started noticing when this guy's walked by the pitcher, he's the only one I see that runs down to first base. Everybody walks. Or when he steals, he's one of the few players, again, even at 6, I started realizing, head first slide. Just different things that kind of made him stand out to me. Plus, their teams were successful.
And he was a guy that, the hustle will speak to this. From what I remember watching him, that yes, there was a head first slide. He was a guy that stretched a single into a double more than maybe anybody I've seen, or at least by far. He would risk trying to leg out, stretch a single into double, where most people would just be like, I'm going to run to first and stop.
You're right, and I'm not going to say he was slow, because obviously he stole a lot of bases in his career, and he did stretch a lot of singles into doubles, so I'm not going to say he's slow, but he wasn't a burner either.
He wasn't Ricky Henderson.
But not even close. But if you notice, it was the hustle. Out of the batter's box, he was probably faster than anybody I'd seen, even at that age.
Even later in his career.
Yeah, and plus the angle he took, he'd take the short angle from first to second. He'd cut that corner
path,
sharply. Real sharply. And so just how smart he was, how successful he was, and again, at that age, just something that made him stand out and look. It was almost like superhero-ish when you saw him and that hair flying when he slid. And so for those reasons, he's my first favorite player of all time. Now, as I got older and got to know more about him as a person, you don't always want to meet your heroes. I'll leave it at that. But again, just on the field, and again, because it was the first actual favorite athlete that I had, he'll always be special to me.
So 2 questions that come to mind. Is he still your all-time favorite baseball player?
No.
Okay.
No. He's one of them.
He's still up there,
but for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Also, as you get older, you realize, and again, I'm not taking away from people that don't have the athletic talent, but obviously there were far more better actual talented, athletic, physically
you got
gifted
the sense that he
baseball
wanted
players.
it more than a lot of people did.
Or that he understood the game more and that he knew he would. I'm not the greatest athlete, but this is what I need to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And he was a winner. Don't let let's not be fooled by that. That's
Yeah.
important. But as I watched more, okay, this guy's actually a better player, but this guy's production is higher because
he's going to do what he has to do.
Yeah.
To succeed.
But it's a good question. You asked me that, and I don't even know who my favorite. I'm talking too fast. Favorite baseball player is. I have a lot. I'm kind of like you. How you used to be with football teams.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players I liked watching, but to actually ask who's my favorite, I don't really know.
Okay.
We'll have to talk about that
Yeah,
one day.
I have maybe a topic for.
I've got 4 or 5
day.
I can name, but nobody. But like football or basketball, I know who it is.
Right.
Baseball, I don't. I know.
Interesting. Okay. So I will say for his career, the things that stand out. Most of us, or at least that are baseball fans, which I used to be. If you hadn't seen the episode, we're entitled "Talking Some Baseball" with Jacob Wiedemann and myself. Check that out. You'll see who my favorite all-time baseball player is and why I stopped watching the game. Pete Rose does have the career record for hits, 4,256.
Yes, sir.
He also holds the career records for games played, 3,562, plate appearances, 15,890. So that's official at-bats plus walks.
Sure.
And official at-bats, 14,053.
Or hit by pitch or anything like that.
Yeah, hit by a pitch. So, my goodness. Staggering longevity, staggering amount of success. Played for 24 seasons. Do you remember what year he actually retired?
86.
86. I'm sorry, it's right in front of me.
Yeah.
So,
because he set the record
been out of the game in 1986,
so
and still no one's broken those records.
and they won't. They won't.
Yeah, I mean,
games played maybe, but I'm talking about hits. That's not
hits.
That's
I
not
don't know if anybody has a 3,000 career hit, like 3,000 hits in a career is tremendous.
Yeah.
4,256. So yeah, I don't know. And then one other question I have, and you touched on it, was saying you don't always want to meet your heroes, so I won't go too far into that. I was going to ask if that changed your viewpoint of him, and that pretty much answered it.
Let me rephrase.
Okay.
That alone, like the fact that he bet on games, that didn't really do it. I mean, but what did it was the people he hung around to be able to do that.
Okay.
The fact that he lied about it, even when there was proof.
That's what got me.
The
is
fact
that
that
he
even when
lied for years and just would not.
And then even when he did admit it, he basically said, "But it wasn't on baseball," and he gave a bunch of excuses, and that part of it kind of bothered me.
Me too.
The ultimate question I'm sure you're going to ask is, do I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame? And if this were a 1994 radio talk show, that would be the top topic because it was played out. Everybody asks that, but you have to ask that question anytime you talk to him. And yes, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's ridiculous that he's not. But I think it's ridiculous that Barry Bonds isn't in. I think it's ridiculous that Roger Clemens isn't in. How can you have the all-time hit leader, the all-time home run leader, a 7-time Cy Young winner not in? I get what they did, but first of all, Pete's wasn't on the field.
Pete's didn't. I was about to say he's even the bigger asterisk of those three. Because what he did was off the field. So I would agree. Not that I disagree with any of that, but Pete's the strongest case in my opinion.
It's like,
what he did speaks for itself.
And now he's gone, so if you do put him in, you're never going to see it. He's never going to see it.
It doesn't impact him.
So, yeah, that part was disappointing to me. But I will say this, and we haven't talked about it. I talked about a lot of reasons why I liked him, like physical traits and the way he played the game. But the one thing that really got me drawn to him again when I was really young, I don't know if it was the first year I was watching, but first or second year, so I was 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. And that's when he had the 44-game hitting streak.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, back then, that was a great big deal, especially
10 games shy of, 12 games shy of DiMaggio's record.
Well, and here's the thing. Keep in mind, back then, it's not like the young viewers today, you're used to being able to see any game you want anytime you want to see it. You can either get the league pass, or even if it's your local team, their road games are covered, their home games are covered. You can see every game. Plus,
every team in the league.
Plus, you got games of the week 3 or 4 times in a week. But when we were coming up, a game of the week meant exactly that. you got one game, maybe two on the same day, and then you got Monday night baseball.
It wasn't just the
or
game of
football.
the week. It might have been the only game that week or one of the few games that week.
Well, they played every day, but it's the only game you're going to see. That's what I'm talking about. You're going to get the game of the week, meaning it's literally the game of the week. Sometimes they'll have a doubleheader, so you'll get two, and then that'd be on Saturday, and you get Monday Night Baseball on Monday.
Yeah.
So you possibly would get 2 to 3 games a week, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So when Pete Rose was chasing that record, you had to get the newspaper. Yeah, I'm old. You had to get the newspaper, and what did he do last night? And so that drama just built up.
Yeah, you couldn't find out till the next morning. You had to rush out to get the paper. You had to flip through and find it. It was like, yeah.
Or what about on games when, let's say, there was a Monday night game of the week, but Cincinnati wasn't covered. But he was doing the hitting streak, so they would cut away to his game. So you would sit there and watch the other game just to hope you get a cutaway.
Find out what he did.
Every time he came to the plate, they're cutting away from their game and showing that game. So you might just see him 4 times. So I remember the night when he did not get a hit, and it was just like crushing. Not so much that he didn't get it, but it was like an event that you couldn't follow anymore. Like Christmas it's over. There's nothing to look forward to. If he gets a hit tomorrow, who cares?
Right, he's starting over. He's got a 1-game hitting streak.
So that I forgot all about that, but that's really another reason why he stood out to me. Especially back then, a 44-game hitting streak. I mean, and as great as that was, he's 12 away from the record.
He's still 12 behind Joe DiMaggio, yeah.
And by the way, I don't know the exact number on this, but after that game, the 56th game that DiMaggio got a hit in, the game he didn't, then he went on like a 22-game hitting streak after that.
Yes. Yeah, DiMaggio, so he was like 78 out of 79.
I'm just like, so enough about that. But yeah, I'm glad I thought of that because that's another reason why he'll always stand out.
No, that is because
chasing that story was a connection for a young kid.
For a young kid whose favorite player is doing this, and I bet a lot of other kids had a new favorite player during the midst of that. And then one last question before I shift to the guy I'm going to talk about. Do you remember who the commissioner of Major League Baseball was at the time that Pete Rose?
Bart Giamatti?
A. Bartlett Giamatti, dad of Academy Award nominated actor Paul Giamatti. Did you realize that?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Or if I did, I forgot it.
It's Paul Giamatti's dad, A. Bartlett Giamatti. So a little partially useless trivia to throw out. You're welcome, Paul Giamatti. All right, so guy I'm going to talk about also passed away last year, June the 12th, 2004.
2024.
He
died 21 years ago.
21 years ago. We're just getting around to it. June the 12th, thank you, Talmadge, 2024. Jerry Allen West, legendary NBA player whose silhouette is the NBA logo. I could stop right there. Thank you for joining in today, but I'll keep going. My connection with Jerry West, actually, let me say real quick, he did play for 14 seasons, all with the Lakers, widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. We might have mentioned him in some of our top 10 basketball player episodes. Oh, I know.
Remember, was he a point guard or a 2-guard?
On my list, I had him in shooting guard. In your list, you had him in point guard because he did spend time at both positions. Played before there was a three-point line. Yes. That's one of my biggest talking points for his greatness. He averaged over 27 points per game for his career.
Without the three-point
line Never had
again.
A three-point line. He hit the 60-footer in the finals one year, 1970 NBA Finals against the Knicks to send the game into overtime. Also, one of the more impressive things to me is, and I know you know this because we've talked about it, Jerry West is the only player in NBA history to be named Finals MVP as a member of the losing team.
Yeah.
People just don't do that. Usually the MVP award is who was the most impressive player on the team that won.
It just doesn't happen.
And for him to win that award tells you just how great he actually was. He also was named most outstanding player of the Final Four when he played for West Virginia in college as a member of the losing team.
Can you name the last player to do that?
In college? Mm-hmm. Was it Jerry West? Mm-hmm. So somebody else was most outstanding player as a member of the losing team. Wow, I don't know this one.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Wow, okay.
When they lost to North Carolina State.
Okay, that's okay. That's awesome. I did not know that. No surprise that you would know that about your favorite all-time NBA
After I
player.
cried over it, you mean?
It's at least he's MVP. Anyway,
I should have done that.
West also, I discovered. Let me find this in my notes because I discovered something pretty amazing whilst researching. He has. Still to this day, he holds the NBA record for the highest points per game average in a playoff series, 46.3.
Yeah.
And again, the man never got a three-pointer because it wasn't heard of back then. He averaged 46.3. We've seen some series where, like, Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, LeBron will carve people up and average in the 30s. Jerry West, 46.3. He never had a three-point line. And he was 6'3". Like, the guy was just phenomenal. My connection to him is that, or why I chose to talk about him, my all-time favorite player, basketball, and the reason I started watching basketball is Irvin Magic Johnson, who played for the Lakers. Jerry West, after retiring as a player for the Lakers, he then coached the Lakers, and I've got some notes on that. He didn't coach nearly as long. He coached for, my apologies, where do I have that in my notes? It was only 3 or 4 years. I think they did make the playoffs like 3 of those years.
I didn't know it was that long. I thought it was like a couple of years. Yeah, wow, 3 or 4.
I'm thinking it was, yeah, and it wasn't. Don't quote me on that because I do apologize. I don't see where it is in my notes. But he, anyway, no, here it is. He took over as coach of the Lakers for 3 seasons, led them to the playoffs each year and to the Western Conference Finals once. So, successful, but not, didn't win a championship. He then went on and he was a scout for 3 years. Then he was named general manager of the Lakers before the 82-83 season. And Los Angeles then won 6 championships. Then in 2002, he became general manager of the Memphis Grizzlies and helped them win their first ever playoff berth. So he was voted NBA Executive of the Year twice, once in 95 with the Lakers and again 2004 with the Grizzlies. He's also credited with 2 more titles as a consultant with the Golden State Warriors, 2015 to 2017. So
I got a quick story with him with the Grizzlies.
Oh, yes,
though.
Let's hear it.
You know the commentator Hubie Brown, right?
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember when Hubie Brown coached the Grizzlies in the early 2000s?
I do.
When they pulled him out of retirement? That was because of Jerry West. Jerry West called him up on the phone and was like, we need a coach kind of like Hubie Brown. And he was like, wait a minute. Why not just call Hubie
Why
Brown?
not someone like Hubie Brown?
Because he wanted somebody, a veteran guy that wasn't going to be too assuming, that knew basketball and could handle a team that was a young team but had some veterans sprinkled in, which is hard to find somebody who speaks to both.
You can balance that, yeah.
And to take them to another level because they'd never really done much. And he's like, we need a guy that could just come in and steady the ship, like Hubie. Why not just call Hubie Brown?
Why not Hubie Brown?
And they did, and they went to the playoffs because of it.
That's a pretty cool story.
Kind of like my Don Knotts story with Three's Company.
I literally was thinking that as you told me. Yeah, we need to cast somebody who's kind of a Don Knotts type character. Have we thought about trying to get Don Knotts?
Has anybody called him?
And then Mr. Furley was, there's Don Knotts. So yeah, actually very cool story. And you told me that years ago when we worked together, and I was thinking of that as you were talking about the Hubie Brown situation. One of the things that's really impressive me about Jerry West, not only was he a legendary player, played 14 seasons, he's got his accomplishments, he's the logo, 27 a game for his career without an NBA line. He arguably had more impressive accomplishments after his playing career.
As an executive, yeah.
To say that he was maybe more impressive after what he did on the court, man, because it's not always a translatable skill.
Oftentimes it's not.
How many guys? Irvin, as I said, is my favorite player. He did coach the Lakers for a little while. Did not have near success.
Isaiah Thomas.
And Isaiah Thomas went into coaching. Michael Jordan was owner for the Bobcats, but they didn't have huge success. Elgin Baylor, one of all-time favorites. He was a general manager and executive for the Clippers and did really help turn that franchise around. The best example, and Chris Black should appreciate this, in my opinion, the best example is Larry Bird. legendary player, was also there. If you didn't hear it, Chris approves. He was also a great coach with the Pacers and then became an executive with the Pacers.
Well, we're throwing that word great around a lot, but he was a good coach.
I will say this. Larry Bird's the only person in history to win Rookie of the Year, MVP, and then Coach of the Year and Executive of the Year in their careers. No one else has ever done that. So, okay, great coach, we could debate, but he was Coach of the Year 1 year, so at least for 1 year, at each different level, he was named the best for at least 1 year, kind of where I'm going. So Larry Bird, in my opinion, no one else has accomplished.
Real quickly,
those
ask
three
Mike
things.
Brown what Coach of the Year does for somebody.
Okay, Mike Brown, let me know in the comments who a Coach of the Year can do. But yeah, Jerry
It
West.
gets you fired 2 years after winning it.
In some cases. What West accomplished after his playing career to me is very impressive. And I'll even say, as great as Irvin and the rest of that Lakers squad was, I don't know would they have been that good if Jerry West wasn't one of the guys in the front office, if he wasn't the general manager. How he helped assemble that team.
Yeah, that's
that
the
fast
key.
break offense, everything that he put together.
That's the key. I don't know about the fast break and all that, but I do know he was key in assembling that team. They did unconventional things that other teams didn't do, just like the Celtics, drafting a Larry Bird when he's still in college, back when you could do that. Things that you can't do now, both teams took advantage of, but you have to have a leader and somebody willing to do it. Also, Jerry West was key to bringing Shaquille O'Neal to the Lakers.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. With the Lakers, he brought Shaquille over and then executed that draft day trade for Kobe.
Yeah.
That got them back to the echelon and brought Phil Jackson over. That was all the same year. Phil Jackson, Shaquille, and Kobe. So again, the things Jerry West did after his playing career, probably even more impressive than when he was playing, and that's a heck of a lot to say.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, that's our topic for today. Both these guys passed away. I knew we both had connections to them and strong feelings on them, so I was like, hey, let's sit down and talk about it. So, Talmadge, do you have any closing comments on Pete Rose or Jerry West or Paul Giamatti?
Well, Jerry West, like you brought up during the talk today, I would have loved to see what he could do at a three-point line. So many players are like that. What could Pistol Pete Maravich could have done with it? Calvin Murphy, just guys that some of the younger viewers don't even know about. And that's why, I know this is not the topic, but it leads me to, I wanted to say this earlier, that's why when we compare these eras and make these lists on all these episodes, that's another thing that makes it so difficult.
Yes, it does.
I'm generally opposed, and I'm just doing it because on the channel,
this is what
we're asked to do it. But just in my discussion with people, it's so hard for me to compare eras to where I don't even do it, because you're never going to be able to know how someone could perform in a different era, and the three-point line's a big part of that. We talked about on another episode here, recently, about coaching. Okay, those coaches didn't have to deal with a salary cap.
Yeah, huge difference.
It's just so different.
Some of the rules changing.
Yeah,
some of the not tracking blocked shots back then. So, so many things.
Yes, I never really get involved in the who's better, Kobe or LeBron. We'll never know. They're not going to play each other.
So unless I asked him to come on the channel and talk about it, he just doesn't think about it.
That's the only time I'll do it. But no, but yeah, especially with Jerry. Getting back to this topic, what he could have done with a three-point line, or the way offenses are constructed today. I mean, most coaches construct their offense to get 43-point shots up. That's in the game plan. How good could he have been then? We'll never know. So.
I'd love to have seen it, him and Maravich and Calvin Murphy. We'll never know, but man, I would love to have seen that as well. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you did like the video. If you did, please show that by clicking the like button if you've not already done so. Please subscribe to the channel. It will enable me to continue to bring you more of this type of content as well as many other types. Also, if you have comments or stories about memories of Pete Rose or Jerry West.
Or your favorite player.
Or who are your favorite players? Who was your first favorite baseball player? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear that as well. So for Talmadge Rodger Varnado, the third, I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Hope you have a great week and hope to see you again real soon. Yeah, Merry.